Well, welcome back. It's been a while. Welcome to the messy mat. I really ought to sort out a new one, but hey, I love this mat. It's got some stories to tell. So it's, as I say, it's been a little while since I was here last, and today what I thought I'd do is I thought I'd show you the way I make masterboards. Now these masterboards are quite a good way of using up lots of scraps, and as you know, I am a scrapaholic, and I don't throw away anything. So just as a quick example, I've got this one here which I made up from a selection of the papers that I was using making a recent junk journal, and they all sort of matched and toned, so they were already in that group of colours. So this is a masterboard, and what it's going to be afterwards I don't know yet. It is just the scraps stuck down onto a piece of card, which is probably from the back of a sketch pad or something like that. Okay, so that's that one. And just while I'm on the sort of subject of masterboards, showing you what I have made already. This one again is it's made up from pieces from a 6x6 scrap paper book. Again, it's stuck onto just a piece of reasonably thick card, just as a basis. I tend not to worry too much about places where it might not be stuck down properly, because the more I add to it, the more likely these bits are to end up getting stuck down. Okay, so there's those. So as is usual, I always start off by showing you where I gather my bits from, and this is from a little folder that I've kept of scraps from my country diary of an Edwardian lady. Nothing goes to waste, it really doesn't. So in here I've got all the trimmings, the bits that I've cut off when I've been making other things, tags, pages. That was an attempted page for a journal. Didn't quite get into the finished product, and that one as well, as you can see. But this is what I don't waste anything. Generally speaking, what happens is you end up with quite a few trimmings, as I say, some longer bits, some bits that you've cut off the sides, the edges, or whatever. Now, I mean, if you really want to, you can spend some time piecing these all together, things, but what happens is you end up with that little bit, and you've got to fiddle a bit to fit it. So to speed that process up a bit, what I do is I cut the remnants that I've got into a couple of different sizes. Now you can see that this one is on the mat here, on the lovely messy mat, it's about 1.5 centimeters, and then this one is the 2 centimeter. It takes no time at all to get these sorted. I'll just show you quickly my method of doing that. In comes the lovely, very ancient but very useful cutter. So here's the scrap, and what I do is I just look. This scrap is, I don't know if you can see that, is it in the centre, is it not? I don't know. This is about 40 mil wide, because I want to cut them into that certain strip length. What I do is let's make these 2 lots of 1.5. So what I'll do is I'll cut it down to the 30mm, and then I'll take it over to the 1.5, and I'll cut the 2 out. So I've ended up with 2 at 1.5 there. Okay. The same would apply if we're going to cut something into the 20mm. I would go and cut it to its nearest, so that one's 60. So then I take it to the 40, which then gives me one of the 20s, and I cut it again, and there I've got 3 20s and possibly another bit of scrap, which we won't throw away, we'll just put in the scrap bin. So there we are. So that's how I do it. Right. It's nice when it's all from the same theme or the same colour base or from a project, because it can, you know, it kind of matches already because you've got all those scraps ready. So again, when I've been trimming down things from the digital printables that I sometimes use, you can see that these are the ones that are, you know, they're cut from the edge where the that was the bit that I used, this is the bit that's left over, but clearly it's far too pretty to just get rid of. So you could use lots of the, you know, the trimmings from your printables. And this lot actually goes quite well together, and I probably will end up making a masterboard out of this lot. I do sometimes, I don't know, when I've been I made a journal recently with tea stain paper, and some of the bits of the tea stain paper, when I was doing the trimmings, as you can see, they've got a pattern on, they've got obviously the pattern of the tea staining as well. Some of these have been, some of these are printables, but again, I can't, you know, they just look so lovely, and I've kept all of those with a view to making those into a sort of strip masterboard as well. Okay, let's get started. So, although I think sometimes when we make tags, it's just very nice and very easy just to use a piece of, you know, a book page, find an image that we can use as a base, stick that onto a piece of card, and then build that up into a tag with lots of, I don't know, some words, some other embellishments and things like that. That's great, but if we are just going to be using scraps, we could end up with something quite imaginative and quite already quite different in, you know, by building up these strips. So I've got this was all cut from one masterboard. So here we go, there's lots and lots of tags there, all cut from a masterboard. Vintaged up a bit with a bit of good old vintage walnut stain type inks. And then I have stitched around the edges so that it gives, you know, that's given me, if I want a quick project, if I want to do something quickly, I've got these in the background just waiting to be finished, embellished. All right. So let's begin. I've started off, it sometimes helps if you've got a piece of card in the background that's pretty similar to the main colour of the card that or the scrap that you're using. That way, if you do happen to, you know, leave a bit of a gap, it's not quite such a glaring, you know, colour difference as if you were to say, for example, stick it onto there and it doesn't quite match. You can see that grey line through there. Okay, so as I say, I try and pick something that's fairly similar to what I'm going to be, what the base colour of the scraps are. So these scraps, these are all from my country diary of an Edwardian lady, and I have got the 1.5 or the 15mm widths, and I've got the 20mm widths there. All right. And some have got quite a bit of pattern, some have got very little, and lots of them will have words. Because when I use Country Diary, I tend to use just more of the images than the words. Okay. In this instance, I'm going to be using this piece of card so that first of all we can get it done reasonably quick. We can get it filled up quite quickly. If you've got some pieces that have got, like this one here, let's just highlight it on the back on there. You can see this is from the book edge, from the spine, so it's quite rough and untidy. It won't matter too much if we're going to end up placing it, you know, on an edge that's going to be cut off anyway. But the main thing is to try and get them really accurately cut, crisp, so that they butt up to each other. And that's another thing I should have mentioned is if you want the thing to be quite flat, try and use the same weight paper all the time. And I know this is the same weight paper because it's all come from the same book. Okay, right, so let's begin. So I think with this one I'm going to take my strips across. If I'm going to be cutting some tags out, I might get 1, 2, I'll probably end up with 3 out of here. And I quite like the idea of the strips going, the planks as it were, going across on the across the shortest width. Okay, simple case. First, decide which side you're going to use, and then give it a good. Oh, looks like this is about to run out, but never mind. We'll get there. We'll get there. Give it a pasting with some of the stick glue. This is a good opportunity to use stick glue because, as I say, I further embellish it with sewing on it and things like that, so it doesn't really have to stick really firmly. Because this piece, the first piece that I've used, is a 20mm piece, I'm going to use another 20mm piece, and I'm just going to cut off. In fact, what I'll do is I'll cut off that edge. Again, don't waste much. And glue it up and butt it up against there. Okay, that's that. How hard is this? Right, now then, with the, again, I'm just going to cut that bit off there. One of the things that I would suggest you avoid is having your joins in the same place. So with this one, I'll start over here, just push him down. And because this is a 15mm one, I'm going to take another piece of 15mm. I'm just going to use that bit there. I only need that much. So we just put the glue on there. As you can see, I'm using the actual baseboard as my glue pad as well, because that glue, you know, don't want to go to waste. Now this is quite an interesting piece as well, this piece that came off the end of there, so I'm going to use, oh, that's even, yeah, sometimes you just need to not be too fussy, Kim, just get on with it. Right, so we'll just put another one of the 15mm bits there, squeeze the glue out, find another 15mm piece, glue it up and put it on there. There we go. I think we could do with the 20mm piece now. It seems to be my, I don't know, I've always had a passion for patchwork as well, and that involves taking a piece of fabric, cutting it up into tiny little bits, and then sewing it all back together again, which some people find a bit odd. Why don't you just use a piece of fabric in the piece that it was intended? But no. Right, so the same goes for me with paper. I do tend to like to cut it up into little bits and then stick it back together again. So the dilemma for me is always finding, is choosing the side when it's got two interesting bits on it, two interesting patterns. Okay, so we're going to put that one there. So avoid meeting up with the joins. Try and get your joins very random all over the piece of the base paper. And let's put that on there. Just continue gluing that on until you've filled up the whole page. How hard is that? Well, if you're me, it's very hard because I can't seem to decide which side of the paper to actually stick down and which side to cut. Let's put that one on there. I think we could do with that piece there. So that is that rough bit. Oh, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I'm probably just being over fussy. So we put that there. So what it does is it builds it up. It uses up your scraps. It builds up this very sort of plank-like floorboard sort of style. And if you have words on it, like this one has, I wouldn't be too fussy about whether they were upside down. Don't try and line them all up, because you then kind of setting yourself up for the finished product has to be that way up as well, if you get what I'm saying. Right, can you use that bit there? What was that? That was a 15mm piece. Let's use this bit here. When you do get to towards the end of the size of your base paper, you probably will find that you're going to have a bit that overlaps, but I wouldn't worry about it because we just cut that off. And see, I'm being picky again. I am being fussy. Let's put that in there. There we go. I'm going to start putting the glue down directly onto the piece of paper now. There we are. Let's go for a 2mm wide bit. Sorry, 20mm wide bit, so that we can just finish that off there. Let's have some nice little birdies. Let's cut that there, and there we are. Okay. How hard was that? The glue didn't run out, which I thought it might. If you want to use a bigger piece of paper, obviously, I had this scrapbook that I found. It was like a photo album from somewhere like India or somewhere like that. It was handmade with another paper on it, and there was bits of grassy string here where you tuck your photos in the corners. So this sort of thing that is probably, most people would probably think they'd throw it away or whatever. This is the sort of thing that you could use as your backing board, and you can really use up a lot of your scraps on this size of paper. Just building it up like that. There's no reason why you can't use a dedicated size bit of paper and do the same thing. You could just fill up this piece, the piece that you need. It's already been cut out. You want to fill it up with something, so just fill it up. You can do something like that, and then when that's glued, you just trim the edges off. So I was thinking playing cards or plain blank tags that you want to pretty up. So once it's got to that stage, and it's properly dry, just so that it's easy to put in your drawer or your filing box or wherever as a masterboard. So there we are. Trim off the ends, and there it is. There's your masterboard. This then, as I say, can be cut up into 3 tags. In this instance, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make 3 tags. I'm just going to measure the overall. It's 220 mil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that down into 3 lots of 7, 14, 21. So I'm just going to do that now. I know you probably all know how to cut a piece of card, but hey ho, let's make this video just that little bit longer. 7, 7, and 7. There we go. Because there's a nice little scrap there as well. Look at that. And then, because I didn't go right to the edge with that one, I'll just trim those bits off there. I hope this is okay with the noise of the cutter and the everything like that. So there we have our trimmed up bits of card, which we just quickly turn into a tag. Into tags. We could cut the corners off using, you know, measuring and everything like that, but I've got this handy dandy little punch thing which cuts off tag shaped corners on bits of card. So there we go. This is another purchase from the Jungle store, if you know the one I mean. No advertising here. Okay, so there we go. Click, click, click. Oh, sometimes, there we go. Just have to eyeball it a bit better to make sure that you've got the corners in the right square in there. Yeah, see, that didn't work. Let's put it in there. There we go. If we put it in upside down, we can actually see what we're doing. Okay, and if you wanted to, like I did with the ones that I've made here from a different set of scraps, what I would do now is put that through the sewing machine, do I don't know, some zigzaggy bits, some straight bits, sew around like that. And then to give it that, you know, the usual thing that I do, I will mess up the edges with a bit of walnut stain ink. Excuse me, I'll reach over there. There we are. And I also very carefully do give it a bit of a tickle all over, just so that it does catch on some of the plank edges, you know, which actually makes it, to me, because I like my vintagey look, it's kind of finishes it off a bit more. You can see the difference between the one that's been vintaged and the one that hasn't. But there we are, that's basically it. That's your masterboard, and then from there you can embellish it further, you can add things, you know, you can sew more on things onto it, you can glam it up completely and utterly the way you want. But I think it's a great way, another great way of using up your scraps. So thank you for watching this video. I'd just like to say thank you to all of those people who have now subscribed to my YouTube channel. You really are pushing me on to make the most of this opportunity to share with you things that I make and things that I enjoy making, and I really appreciate all your comments, all your likes, and yeah, it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful. It's been a lovely couple of weeks from the point of view of the YouTube experience, so thank you very much. Well, enjoy having a go at making your masterboard. Next time, maybe I will show you a way of how I've used a masterboard, but who knows, I might do something completely different. So that's it for today. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching, and come back and enjoy the messy mat again. Bye now.